site. Okay, so I'll do this. The Westport Library and the Quick Center for the Arts presents Oh Brother, Not Another Podcast with me, Meg Burrows.
And I'm Trace Burrows. And today we're very excited to have on the show Aruba Red, also known as Natasha Bruce, the daughter of the legendary musician Jack Bruce, who's a fantastic musician, songwriter, and singer in her own right, which I just discovered recently. I'm just to talk about that for a second, and we'll get into everything else. So on Facebook, I don't know, this month, I got all into Cream again for some reason, and Facebook was sending me all these documentaries about Jack Bruce and specifically about him, but it was anything had to do with Cream, Eric Clapton. And so all of a sudden, I see a video and it says that it's Jack Bruce's daughter, and I didn't even know, I knew nothing about his family, that he had children, and I said, "Wow, I got to listen to this." And so I played "We're Going Wrong," and I was blown away by your voice and the sensitivity of the whole thing. And so that's how I discovered you. And I said, "Oh, I got to ask her if she'll come on the show."
That's so nice.
Finally,
doing some positive ad targeting, I guess, or something.
Yes. Those algorithms are working for me. We have a lot of questions. You've got a your new album's coming out in March, right?
Yeah, so this is a live album, which is coming out on March the 11th, which is the 1-year anniversary of when it was recorded. So that was like our last proper full band gig before the first lockdown. Back in March 2020. So yeah, luckily we had that gig recorded, not knowing that it would be the last gig for quite some time.
So how would you describe your style of singing?
I make alternative soul music inspired by the themes of healing and transformation. That's how I describe it. I'm very inspired by a whole host of musicians and artists. I would say vocally, Erykah Badu is one of my biggest inspirations. I also love the storytelling of Cat Stevens, Yusuf Islam, and Bob Dylan. I love so many different kinds of music. Anything that really tells a story and can transport me to another place, I love.
So I reading up on all about you. So you were, I don't know when you started. I knew you wrote poetry as a kid, and then you got into music, and then at one point, I guess when your dad was ailing, and you had some issues in your own life, you took a break from singing. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I was doing music for a long time, and I was so passionate about it, and I was doing the whole, the open mic circuit, and then just gigging around and doing the festivals throughout the UK, and I got some really great support slots, and it was going well, and the passion was just for it came from poetry initially, like writing lyrics, and then it grew to meeting with different musicians. How it happens, it just evolves. And the first time I think I really thought, I could actually take this seriously and do it for real is when I was scouted by the really inspiring composer Nitin Sawhney, and he asked me to join on this young person's kind of composition week, celebrating the reopening of the Royal Festival Hall in London. And he got together, like, I don't know how many of us it was, maybe 16 different young people from all different backgrounds. And like we had guitarists and drummers and poets and rappers and all these, all amazing, innovative people. And we had like a week to write all new material together with all of these people that we'd never met before, to perform in front of 2,000 people at this at this huge reopening. And that really inspired me. And I was like, wow, I would love to really do this, because I think I'd always grown up, obviously, seeing my dad performing and touring with him and being fortunate enough to meet so many incredible musicians. But I think for myself, I'd always just done it because I love to do it, but I didn't really think I could make a living out of this, or this is something that I could really pursue. So I was always working like regular jobs on the side and just doing music for fun. And then that was when I really thought, oh, actually, I would rather not go back into my regular job. I would love to try and make this work. And then things were going well. And then, yeah, I did get into a really difficult situation. Like fast forward a few years, I was in a very difficult relationship with my ex-husband, who was also my manager. And to cut a long story short, I was effectively coerced to stop making music for about 4 years. And that was really hard. There was like a lot of issues with gambling addiction and general kind of toxicity. And it was just a very difficult relationship. And I managed to get out of that after I was with him for 10 years, and I managed to get out of that. But within the last 4 years of that time, my dad got really sick. He had been struggling with his health for a long time, but then it got really serious, and it became apparent that, you know, we knew he wasn't gonna make it for that much longer. And I think he was given like 6 months to live, and then decided to check out within the week. It was like he really made that. I feel like he really made that decision. He didn't want to like hang around for this long kind of demise. And however difficult that was and sad, it felt quite empowering. Like he decided he wanted to stay at home. He didn't want to go back to hospital. He didn't want to be resuscitated. He kind of was very clear about that. And we really had the opportunity, my family, to stay at home with him and really care for him and help him cross over in those final days. And we were all around his bed when he passed away. And that was just a really powerful moment for me. And then a few months later, I got pregnant with my first child, and I had my little boy the following year. And again, that was like another seed of this like kind of awakening, and just like really knowing that deep down that I had to get out of the situation that I was in. And then when my little boy was 8 months old, the relationship with my ex and myself finally fully, like, he left when my son was 8 months old, which in hindsight was difficult, but it was kind of the biggest gift. And then after that, I managed to find my way back to music. And it's been really incredible. That my son is he's just turned 5. On Christmas Day, he turned 5. And the last, I would say, 3 years or so have been really just coming back to music and creating again. And it's been such a wonderful experience to feel so free and to be able to do that. And I'm just really, really thankful that I'm back doing what I love.
I just want to ask, is your son, does he co-star in the Holy Water video? Is that your son?
Yeah, that's my son.
Yeah, that beautiful young man, boy.
500 nights I've spent with you, uninterrupted power from our moon to 7 days in my holy waters. Do you recall the sound of creation calling? The bells they're falling, I'm moving through, up leveling as a result of the love I have for you. You know I am your chosen one.
Yeah, a beautiful video. Well, why don't right off the bat just say your website so people can know where to hear some of your music?
Yeah, sure. So I use the name Aruba Red. So Aruba Red was a legendary female pirate who sailed the seas several hundred years ago. And it's Aruba like the island and red like the color. ArubaRedmusic.com. That's where you can find out all about me.
Now, I have one question. You know, we're not reading about any band, but Cream especially, and between Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker, the fighting was just legendary. The bickering, the fighting, the yelling, the conflicts. And you're a witness to that as a young girl. How did that not discourage you from being a musician, it must have seemed so, I don't know. And to me, it would be intimidating. Like, is that the life I want to live with all this yelling and screaming? I mean, or is that just something you were adapted to?
It's interesting because I never really made the connection between that being anything to do with the music.
Oh, okay.
I mean, obviously, like Cream was before my time, but then Ginger and my dad did get together for many bands during my childhood. So they played together for various concerts and then got together for BBM. And that was like, yeah, that was a big part of my childhood, the BBM kind of era, because we were really able to witness all of that, which was, you know, incredible band with Gary Moore and yeah, all three of them sadly no longer with us. But yeah, like the fights, it was intense, and they did really have this love-hate relationship though. I know that things can be portrayed as if it was just hate, but there was also, I think it's almost like, you know, brothers or something, like when they can really fight, but there's also that love there as well. And yeah, I think when they were actually playing together, it really, you know, was very magical.
They really connected. Yeah, they had that. Well,
yeah.
Jack was a real incredible jazz. I saw those videos of him early on playing jazz, like really intense on a bass fiddle, you know, and Jack, and I guess Ginger was playing in those scenes as well. So they had that background together as well. And they were both in the Graham Bond organization, right?
Yeah, they were in Graham Bond together. And I mean, the fighting started from all accounts back then. And my dad would tell me stories of Ginger pulling a knife on him. And
oh, geez.
I know from myself, you know, my own experience, that Ginger was never an easy guy to be around. I'll tell you a funny story. My first memory of Ginger, I think my dad was in San Francisco, possibly. I don't know where we were, somewhere. And I was maybe around 6 years old. And my sister was maybe 4. And we were like getting onto the bus. Like, I don't know if it was the tour bus or the band, just some bus that we were getting on. And Ginger had his feet kind of across the aisle. And I was just like, excuse me. Just looked at me and my sister and was just like, I fucking hate kids.
Oh.
And even though that sounds like scary, that's always been like a fun kind of story to share.
Yeah.
Because he was almost like, he was like a caricature of himself, if you know what I mean. And yeah, like, I guess sometimes the most talented people aren't always the easiest people, and that is kind of comes with it. But I didn't ever make that connection with music, because equally there were so many wonderful and kind people that I met through my dad. And I guess musicians, yeah, they're just a reflection of wider society, I guess.
Well, passion, I guess it's just passion coming out in a different way, right? So
of all you musicians you've met, of your friends of your dad, who do you like the best? Or can't, you know, I don't know if that's like a bad question.
I mean, there's so many, but I would say my favorite band from my childhood was when he was with Jack Bruce and the Quicoland Express. So that was like it was like an Afro-Cuban Latin jazz band, and it was just incredible. And Vernon Reid from Living Colour was on guitar, and he's still a very close family friend. And, you know, we send each other messages and we talk on Twitter. And then also he just had an incredible rhythm section in that band. So there was Robbie Armin on drums, and Horatio El Negro Hernandez on drums, and then also Richie Flores on percussion. And Richie's like a dear friend. They're all really, really wonderful guys. And then also, sadly, no longer with us, Bernie Worrell on keys, who was always like our Uncle Bernie. So yeah, Parliament Funkadelic, and really legendary.
So when your dad was alive when you started getting into music, was he supportive of what you were doing?
Yeah, he was very supportive. Really, I remember he was supportive, but also critical. Like my dad was all about the music. So I remember when I first started writing songs, and I guess because of the era that I was coming up in and the kind of friends that I was around, like the way that we would write songs initially was we would send each other like beats, we would send each other like tracks, and everyone would write lyrics over them. And my dad was like, this isn't a song. He was very much about, like, you know, the structure and the composition.
Old school.
Classically trained, you know. Don't get me wrong, he also loved like hip hop and all different kinds of music, but at the same time he was quite he was always honest. He wouldn't just say, yeah, this is great because you happen to be his kid. Like, he would always be honest. But he was also very, very supportive. And yeah, when I had that first gig with Nitin Sawhney, my dad was a big fan of Nitin's, and he came down and he was like, that was a really nice moment because Nitin had always grown up listening to Cream and really was inspired by my dad's music. And then my dad was aware of Nitin's work, and they had a nice kind of moment together. And then Nitin ended up musically directing my father's tribute concert after he passed away.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. You know, talk about that a little bit, the tribute concert.
The tribute concert, so we when my dad died, my mum knew quite soon afterwards that she wanted to put on an event to honor his memory. And I remember her just kind of really coming up with the idea that she really wanted to do something really special. And we discussed the Royal Albert Hall and the Roundhouse and these different kind of iconic venues in London. And she really asked me to come on board to help to produce this show. And then I got in touch with Nitin because I just felt like I really needed somebody who could hold the magnitude of something like this that we were going to put together. I needed to know that there was someone there who musically really understood the diversity of what my dad had achieved and just all the different genres and styles. And I didn't want it to be just like too much classic rock or just jazz or just blues. It had to be everything, you know, and I knew that Nitin was able to achieve that. So I was so happy when he said yes. And then it was just kind of full steam ahead for a whole year, just organizing that. And it was quite a feat. Like, we had 36 different musicians perform songs from throughout my dad's career, like all the different periods from the Graham Bond organization right up to his final album, Silver Rails. And it was a really, really wonderful night. And we raised a lot of money for the local children's hospice that my dad supported during his lifetime. And it was very emotional, but I really felt his spirit in the room that night. And by the time the concert came around, I was like 7 months pregnant with my son. And I got to sing on the stage, the Roundhouse. It was just a very special night.
Nice.
Yeah, and we had some incredible people play. We had Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, and Ginger was there. I got to sing with Ginger. An experience. We had Mark King from Level 42, and Vernon Reid flew over from New York and performed. And just a whole host of incredible. We had Joss Stone singing. It was just an amazing night. Yeah.
So you're coming out there, unless you've already started. I think you did start a week or so ago, the 7-part online series.
Yeah, so the 3rd installment is coming out tomorrow.
What's that all about?
So we recorded the last proper show, which was also my first headline gig, on the 11th of March 2020. And we filmed it as well. And then when lockdown happened, we realized that there's not going to be any gigs for quite some time. So I just really wanted to create something that would bring some life from that concert into people's, homes while they're kind of not able to go to shows and stuff. So what we've done is we've created this 7-part mini documentary series called The Inspiration Behind the Tracks. And each episode really delves into the meaning behind one of the songs that was performed that night. So we dive into seven songs throughout the series, and it's a mixture of music and discussion and nice footage from the gig and other moments throughout my career. And then I do quite a lot of wellness work with like guided meditations and things like that. So at the end of each series, we leave everybody with some really positive and uplifting affirmations. And so there's 7 weeks of that, and then that will lead up to the release of the live album on the 11th of March, which is the 1-year anniversary of the show, which I can't believe, a year. Like, so much has happened. It feels like a different lifetime, but then at the same time, it also feels like it's gone quite fast.
Right.
I'm not a musician, but I'm curious. Trace is, but I'm not. But I I listen to music, love music. But the songwriting process, I mean, I'm curious because I've heard all different. Some musicians say they receive the song, they're channeling a song, or do you decide to write a song tonight? And then if you do, where do you go, and what is your do you have a songwriting space that you go to, that lets it happen? Or do you feel you're channeling?
I really feel like I'm the channeling thing for me, sometimes all of the lyrics and all of the melody will just be there, and there's not much that I have to do. It's more about just capturing it. So whether that's quickly recording it into the voice notes in my phone, or writing the lyrics down and just repeating the melody so many times in my head so that I hope I don't forget it. And then there's other times, there's a mixture of the two. And then there's other times when, if I'm, booked in to go to the studio with some of my co-writers, then obviously you have to be able to tap into that space, on demand, which can sometimes be tricky. But I think if you're with the right people and you feel comfortable, and what I have my lyric book where I just always write ideas. So it could be, I want to write a song about this topic one day, but it hasn't come to me yet, but I just know that at one point, this subject I want to write about. Or it might just be one line or a little hook or just a melody or something. And then when I go into the studio, I have all of these things in progress that I can call on and try and invoke the channeling to happen more deeply in that moment. So I guess many people have different ways. And for me, just listening to my musician friends, just messing around on their instruments will always inspire something to kind of come through. And I just love the experience. The time that we create the music is definitely my happy place, more so than the releasing of it. I think that's definitely where I'm the most content, is when I'm just in the studio or wherever I am creating. So there's a few studios near where I live in London that we usually go to. I've got my brother-in-law studio down the road in Tottenham where my sister lives, and then I have Ronell Shaw's home studio who's producing my new album. He's recently been awarded an Ivor Novello Award for Best Jazz Composition for a really wonderful project that he put together called the Windrush Suite, which is incredible. And then also my other co-writer and producer, Camilo Torrado, has a studio as well, very close by. So those are the three main places that I will go to collaborate and to create the music. And if it's not that, it's just my bedroom, just letting ideas come. Yeah.
So you have a lot of co-writers that collaborate with you. Do they help out with the lyrics, or it's just the music part, or?
Mainly just the music. I wrote all of my lyrics myself up until quite recently, but with the most recent album, Ronell and me have I'm getting more comfortable with taking on board suggestions and bouncing back off with each other. So that's a nice experience to really, really collaborate, and I'm getting more involved with the music as well. So yeah, I would say primarily 99% of the lyrics are mine, but sometimes I'm always open to my co-writers suggestions, and sometimes he'll just question me what does this mean, and why have you said this? And then it will kind of really draw out of me what I'm really trying to say, and we can try and condense it in a way that's maybe easier to fit into a certain rhythm that we're trying to make it work and things like that. So yeah, we do kind of chisel away at things to make them into the right shape, for sure.
So you have 4 siblings, one from your father's first marriage, and then 3 from the second one.
Two from my mom, and then my older brother Malcolm from my dad's first wife, and then I had my other brother Joe, who passed away when I was 15.
Oh, so Malcolm's a bass player, right? Doesn't he play with that group that tours us Cream music called something like?
Yeah,
music
yeah.
Cream or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Any of your other brothers and sisters musical like you?
So my sister Kyla, she's a filmmaker. She makes amazing films, but she is also musical. She plays piano and she sings, and she did perform a song at the tribute concert, which was really beautiful, and that was a big deal for her. She's quite shy, and I know it took a lot for her to get up and do that, but she really wanted to do it for my dad, and she did a beautiful performance, and it was amazing. And I think Weird of Hermiston, she performed on piano and vocal with a string quartet, which was really, really gorgeous. And then my brother Corin is a drummer, but not professionally, but he's and a DJ as well. So yeah, he's all, everyone. I think everyone's musical, but I seem to be, for my mum's kind of set of us, I'm the only one that's like pursuing it as a profession.
Have you played in the States yet?
I haven't. I've recorded in New York, and I've worked a couple of times. I used to work for a company called Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. I don't know if you've heard of it. They made an appearance in The Simpsons. That was an incredible job. So I did that. Where did we do? We did Vegas and we did New York at the Gibson Studios, and that was a big experience. But yeah, I haven't performed in the States yet, which I would love to do. I don't know how that is right now. Pardon?
I talked over you. What did you just say? The last part?
I would love to have that opportunity, but I just don't know how possible that is right now, but hopefully in the future.
Yeah.
I just want to insert my own one little comment because of the songs I've listened to. I think one of the most poignant, evocative song titles I've ever heard, and the song along with it, but Kiss Your Scars.
I like that too.
You want to talk about it's so, I don't know, the title just gives me chills.
Nice. It's interesting that you picked that song out. So I wrote and recorded that song about 8 years ago and totally forgot about it. Like, just didn't even know it existed anymore, didn't even have a copy. And then the producer randomly hit me up last year and was like, I'm just coming back to some old songs and I found this great song, and can I put it out? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he sent it to me, and I'm like, do you need me to redo the vocals? And he's like, no, I think they're fine. I'm just going to do a new mix. And I was like, okay, cool. And then, he released it. And I love that song. It's such a nice song.
'Cause I'm here for you. Come out of the rain. There's another way. I will kiss on your pain. Yeah, I'm here for you. Wild or behind bars. Yes, I understand. I will kiss on your scars. I need you.
That song Kiss Your Scars, I think it was just really, I was trying to convey when you love somebody that feels like they're broken or they're not good enough, and it's like just really loving all of that person and really accepting all of who that person is, even the scars and the difficult part. That's what that song was.
No, it said it in 3 words. It says so much. Well, anyway, that's my...
Yeah. Thank you.
I love your lyrics.
And your voice is very, the only word I could come up with is celestial. I don't know if any, your voice is just very, has that quality to me.
It's sensual, ethereal.
Yeah.
I love those descriptions. Yeah, that's a compliment for sure. Thank you so much.
Do you want to talk about you have these Aruba Red Treasured and then Bespoke Creations? Do you want to say anything about that part of your life?
Yeah, sure. Aruba Red Treasured is like a sustainable, slow fashion store, which I created with my friend who's an ethical stylist, Ashlyn Gibson. And she came up with this concept of like an alternative to traditional band merchandise. So rather than just kind of mass producing cheap t-shirts and plastic pens and whatever else we normally do, like we really wanted to come up with really small run of like really lovely items that people could treasure forever. So Aruba Red Treasured. So we have like sustainable brands, like local designers that we collaborate with, and I have like non-toxic essential oil candles, and we're having natural incense made at the moment with lyrics from my songs, like within the artwork and things like that. And each kind of scent will go with a different song and the different lyrics. So yeah, that's really nice. And bespoke creations, I put that in the store. If people want like personalized poetry created for a special occasion, like if they wanted something for a birthday or, you know, something to mark a special moment in their lives, then I'm able to write meditations for people or poetry. And I really love to create personalized things around a theme. I really love to do that. So that's something that I offer.
So that's online, right? So that's spokecreations.com.
Yeah, that's arubaredtreasured.com.
Oh,
yeah, and you can also link there from my regular website, arubaredmusic.com. You can just go to store, I think it is, and then it will take you to the treasured page. Yeah.
Meeks, do you have any other questions? I have a question, but it's kind of off the track.
No.
But...
What, you have a question that's off track?
Yeah, it's so off. Not.
Oh, go ahead.
Not a good segue. So like, so like, reading up on all your stuff. What is radical birth keeping with birth magical? What does that mean?
Okay, so that's a whole other side of what I'm doing.
Doing a lot.
So, yeah, so I gave birth to my little boy at home. I decided not to go to the hospital, and it was a really incredible experience. And the more I kind of witness and experience, I realized that hospitals are a huge blessing when we need them, but birth isn't necessarily a medical event, and we don't kind of need to go there in the first instance. And if birth is allowed to unfold naturally, in all likelihood, everything will be fine. And a birth keeper is somebody who really protects that space of the birthing mother and the family, and to kind of really allow the physiological and natural hormonal unfolding of birth to unfold, which is just very, very difficult to do in a strange environment, because we're mammals, and when there's bright lights and strangers, our bodies won't open, they're going to stay closed. So it's just, yeah, my role as a birth keeper is I hold space for women, and I protect the traditional teachings of what birth can be. And yeah, I walk with women through their pregnancies and offer them support during pregnancy, during birth, and then also postnatally with breastfeeding and with looking after their newborns and things like that. So that's, yeah, really something that I feel really, really passionate about. And it really weaves into some of the topics that I sing about within my music. And one of my most recent single, Wild Woman, was selected as the Free Birth Society theme tune for their podcast, which... I'm really proud of, because I love their stories. They have a podcast which has had over 1 million downloads, and they just share stories of women telling their own stories of birthing outside of the system, and just doing it, like whether it's like in a teepee or in a field or in a garden or just at home. And it's just like very empowering and magical stories of what birth can be, like separated from this kind of dramatic Hollywood portrayal of it, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Are you allowed to take a spinal, like
sure.
Yeah, but yeah.
No, I don't. So I'm not involved in anything medical. So when you're at home, you have to really just be committed to.
There's no numbing shots or.
There's none. Yeah, you just do it. It can be like a really psychedelic experience if we allow ourselves to submit to it, and you can really have like a wild trip when you're giving birth. If you can really surrender to what we think of as pain, it can end up really being quite.
I know.
You transcend it, and it can be incredible. Yeah.
My wife, a lot of women try to do it without any, and my wife tried that too, and then the last moment it got horribly painful, because she had to have pitocin, that hurried the birth along.
That's the thing. If you have pitocin, which I know is happening more regularly in the UK, and in the States it happens a lot, like the Pitocin contractions are so intense that it would be almost impossible for a woman to withstand that without some kind of pain relief. But if things are allowed to just happen more slowly, then it's not so, it's still very intense, but it's not so unachievable, you know, if you're left alone. But I think any of us, if we're in the hospital environment and we're struggling and we're getting to like some of, you know, the moment where we don't think we can carry on, if there's somebody there that's offering you something that's just going to make it all go away, you're gonna take it. Do you know what I mean?
Are the fathers allowed in the room during your?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever the family wants. It's mainly about putting the mother in. She's at the pinnacle of the hierarchy in that situation, rather than the hospital system or the doctor. It's like the woman is at the top, and then everybody kind of caters to what she needs to get through the experience in the most positive way possible.
Probably would have helped. I mean, I have a wonderful son, but my wife's words to me were, "Get the F out of the room." So I didn't get to treasure the experience.
Yeah, I guess whatever they want at the time needs to. Everyone's different, and everyone has their own wishes and handling it. Yeah. But so Birth Magical is the name that I use for
Birth Magical, okay.
My birth offerings. Yeah, and I create guided meditations for pregnant women and things like that. And that can all be found at birthmagical.com and on Instagram as well.
So why don't you plug, because we're going to end soon, right, Megs?
Yeah.
Where people can find your music.
Sure. So I'm on all the platforms like, you know, Spotify and Apple Music. You can just type in Aruba Red. So Aruba like the island and red like the color. You can head to my website, arubaredmusic.com, and that will link you to everything. And then you can also come and find physical CDs on Bandcamp and on my website. And I'm just on all the social media platforms. If you type in Aruba Red, you will find me. Music with a message.
Well, it's been great hearing about everything.
Yeah, phenomenal talent.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
No, I appreciate all your kind words, and it makes me happy that you found my little tribute to my dad, because Ronell, my collaborator, he suggested that we record that after my dad passed away. And that was the first thing I recorded since after he that I had filmed, and it was his idea, and it was just really, really nice, and
great, awesome, the best covers I've ever heard. Great rendition, and your dad's was great, and so was yours. So there you go.
Right.
I'm glad that Facebook guided you to that.
Yeah, it guided me. Yes, it's amazing, Facebook in that way.
No, it's awesome.
Thank you again. Bye.
So nice to meet you guys. Take care.
Bye.